Today's video is going to be some of the best coins that I picked up at the statewide show. These are coins that came from the Tennessee State Numismatic Society show that's held twice a year in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And these are all the coins where I made a small purchase, as in a small number of coin purchase from multiple different dealers. And so there's a lot of good stuff in here, and I'm ready to jump in. We're roughly going to sort this video by the purchases from different dealers, all the coins from one dealer at a time, and all of these purchases were so small they didn't warrant their own video. But we're going to have the most expensive things at the end. And one thing we're going to start with, and this is going to give you an indication of how long it took me to get this video online. This show was in March of 2025, and even though it was March, they were giving away, someone had these coasters from the Florida Fun Show that they were giving out, even though that had been 2 months in the past. So kind of a neat thing that they were someone was giving away. The first three coins we're going to look at today come from one of my favorite dealers. His name is Bill. He has a large tub of carded 5 for $1 coins. He also has a big tub of 12 for $1 loose coins. But he also has a smaller tub of $1 priced coins. And I picked a couple of coins out of that tub. The first we're going to look at today is from Portugal. And one thing I like about him is the level of detail that he puts on his coins. So this one's from Portugal. It's from 1977. It is a 2.5 escudos. He even has the mintage totals in pencil on here with the catalog number of KM605. I'll say about this specific coin, there are actually 6 million of these made, but 10,000 of them were proof. And so you add those 10,000 to this, and it gets you exactly 6 million of this copper nickel coin. But the reverse here is the standard reverse of the Portuguese 2.5 escudos of the time, but we're more interested in the obverse, where it features, you try to read the name here, Alexandre Herculano, and it is the centennial or centenario of his death, or morte. So he died in 1877, and then a centennial of that would be 1977. He is a Portuguese writer and poet. Book value on this would have been $1.50. Our next coin is going to be from Ghana, from 1999. This is a 50 cedis. So cedis is the name of their currency. So there were 100 pesewas to 1 cedi. So this is for them, this one is a larger denomination coin. KM31A. It's made out of nickel steel. He says it's AU condition. On this side, we have the rampant lion in the middle of a shield that is quartered, showing 4 different designs in the shield. So we flip this one over. It has their motto of freedom and justice and a large bush drum. So this one was cataloged 31A because it was made out of nickel-plated steel. Originally, this coin was made in 1991, I think, out of copper nickel, but it was made for 3 years from about 95 to 99 out of the nickel-plated steel. And one way to tell them apart is that this is magnetic, so it sticks to my magnet. It kind of has the look of a matted proof coin, sort of. Now, it's a little bit circulated, so it's not fully that way. But this was made by the Royal Canadian Mint, but it's not a proof. And so I've seen some other proof-like coins from the Royal Canadian Mint that almost has this brushed look to it. If you look at the what should be the flat, smooth background has almost a matte look to it, and you can kind of see it on this side too. Actually, I think I see it better on this side. Almost looks like there's lines, really thin lines going through this side. This next coin is one that I already had, but I thought it was somewhat of a novelty because it looks like it comes in a graded, it looks like a graded coin. Certainly comes in a slab, and let me pause for a moment and say that it almost has the same brushed matte look as the last coin did, since it's Canadian and would have been made of the same mint. This is the Voyageur Dollar. But before we get to the coin itself, let's look at the flip, or the slab itself. So it appears to be a graded coin, or at least it might have the appearance of one of the cheap knockoff graded coins where you can't really trust it. And so just as a note here, it has the name of the coin. On this side, it has a hologram that's pretty well worn and a barcode. This is not an actual graded coin. Instead, this little B logo right here means that it's from the Bradford Exchange. This is one of those companies that takes collectibles and sells them on their website like they are huge investments and charges twice as much for them. So someone out there unfortunately probably paid $60 or something in that ballpark for this coin. And you can see that I paid $3 for this coin. And the first thing I'll point out when we look at the label on here, it says authenticated, so it probably is legit. Brilliant uncirculated, and that's kind of debatable. Then they call it a Canadian silver dollar, and that it is not. This was a copper nickel coin by 1986. Now, there was a time where these were made out of silver when I guess that lasted up until the 1960s, but by 1986 this was not a precious metal. And so the slab itself cracks pretty easy, so it's not a high quality, although I've heard people say that the little rubbery insert in there is actually pretty good. Although you can kind of see there's a circle that goes around it, I think that would probably hold a let's say a United States Morgan dollar, and so they added a little circular insert on here to snugly fit the Canadian dollar from 1986. So hopefully if you're watching this video you would know not to pay $60 for something like this, but and hopefully no one these are not sold on their website anymore, but they still have some other overpriced American coins and probably some world coins too that come in a series. And it's one of those where you buy the first one for $60 and then they keep sending them to you and keep charging your credit card, and it's hard to cancel. So a company that you should stay away from for sure. Now let's get to the coin itself. So we've got the Canadian dollar coin, and in my old calendar it called this catalog KM120, but did note that there was it was essentially listed twice in my old catalog, a catalog that's 30 years old now, where it listed it from 78 to 80, and then listed it again with the same catalog number from 81 to 87. I thought that was kind of weird. It did add modified reverse to the record below, and then I can't find any other reference to it actually being a modified reverse. But then if you pull this up in the most recent Krause catalog, it is going to call it KM 120.1, and I had trouble finding 120.2. And so the 0.1 had nothing to do with the division that I saw in the oldest catalog. Instead, there is a mule version of this coin, which is where a mule is essentially two different dies that weren't supposed to work together made a different coin. And I couldn't even find it in the catalog. I'm sure it's in there somewhere. So that's what the 0.1 means. 0.1 is the much easier to find version of this coin. But they did make subtle changes over the year, including the size of the coin. But it essentially ran from 78 to 87. And this is usually called the Voyageur Dollar. Let's zoom in on this again. So this would be some of the earliest exploration of the Canadians' territory, and here is our Voyager. So he would have been a European who was exploring the land, who teamed up with an indigenous person who knew the land. They've got some cargo on their wooden boat that is from Hudson Bay. There's an HB for Hudson Bay initial right there. They're in the water, but they're going past a tiny little island that has 2 trees on it with the Aurora Borealis in the background. So always a pretty coin, and the coin by itself books for $2.50. So I already had it, but I thought it was kind of fun to get it in this slab, and also kind of to give a warning of not to buy these. So let's zoom out for a moment and talk about other things that you probably shouldn't buy unless you get it at a discount price. This is made to look like a mint package of a United States quarter. This is going to be more for the benefit of people out of the United States, but from about 1998, for 10 years, the U.S. Mint took the United States quarter and made 50 different designs, one for every United state. And so they ranked them by when the state joined the Union. This is the heads side of every version of the coin, but then the reverse had a design specifically about the state. I am from Tennessee. That's what the TN in my YouTube username comes from. And so Tennessee was known for its music. It was the birthplace of country music, and it has musical heritage on the bottom. We've got a guitar, a violin, I guess some sheet music, and a trumpet on there. Then it features 3 stars. That is a logo that appears on the Tennessee flag, and that symbolizes the 3 divisions of the state of Tennessee, plus the 3 presidents which came from Tennessee. And this coin is from 2002, is dated, or catalog number CAM 331. But let's zoom out and look at the packaging on here a little bit. So it came in a slip cover that looks like something the U.S. Mint would make, but this was actually made by the Burnett Company. So all they were doing was purchasing U.S. quarters and coming up with their own design for it. But the packaging here I do think is pretty neat. I, again, bought it for a novelty because they probably sold these for $10, and to me it's worth $2. But some popular places from around the state, we've got the Smoky Mountains, which is the most visited national park in the country, is in our state. On the other side, the historic mill in Pigeon Forge, and this photo itself is a lot older than the date the packaging was made here in 2002. This is now a famous restaurant in the tourist town of Pigeon Forge, but the actual card that this was enclosed in, we've got the same picture on this side, the same picture on this side. We open it up. Facts about the state. We've got a historic log cabin that's at the Smoky Mountains. There's our flag with the 3 stars. There is the state seal. More state facts. We've got, you look out the background of this side, and so again we've got the Gatlinburg area, which is Gatlinburg and Pigeon Forge are all the tourist cities right next to the national park. We've got the Gatlinburg Space Needle, which is probably one of the least known space needles in the world, a lot less known than the one in Seattle because it's a little bit less impressive. Same picture on this side, but it adds the certificate of authenticity. And then more state symbols. And then finally something that's not located near the Smokies, we've got the state capitol in Nashville. So just, I bought that for the packaging. I thought it was pretty neat. But it's certainly not worth $15 or whatever someone else might charge for it, if it's that expensive. We're now going to zoom back in and look at the 5 coins right here. These are coins from a dealer. They have a box of old copper coins, and they sell them for $3 each or 5 for $10. And so I wanted to make sure that I picked up 5 of them, and this is what we got. We're going to start with a coin from Morocco. Now, unfortunately, this coin does have a lot of corrosion on it, but the one thing that's easy to read on here is the date of 1340. This is called a dual trilobed star. So that's a new term for me, a trilobed star, and there are 2 of them to make the 6 points on here. But this is, when we flip it over, we've got the 5-pointed star. It's got the number 10, and so the value of this coin is a 10 mizunas. The Arabic year of 1340 is 1922, and the catalog number on this is Y29.2, and the variations has to do with the mint mark that's on this side. So the Moroccans were not controlled by France yet, but their coins were still made in France, and there are 2 versions of this coin. And the second version has the mint mark and the mint master mark over here. So the lightning bolt means that it was made by the Poissy Mint in France. But version 1 does not have either of these marks at the bottom, and that means that it was made in Paris. So the privy mark or the mint mark makes this version 2. The catalog says fine condition would be $2, so I probably overpaid for this. There were 1 million of these made, and it happened during the rule of Sultan Yusuf, who ruled from 1912 to 1927. Next, we're going to move to an early Canadian bank token. Now, in the earliest days of Canada, they would circulate the coins from their home country, whether that be Britain or France. But there became a coin shortage, so local businesses started to pick up the slack and mint their own coins. But eventually the government didn't really like that, and so they approved local banks to issue coins that were considered actual currency. Most of these were from authorized by the French, but especially in what you would consider Lower Canada, which was around the Montreal area. That's the southernmost area of France around Quebec and Montreal, was known as Lower Canada. But there were a few that were made by or approved by the British in the area. So this is a British authorized Southern Canada bank token. At the top it says token, at the bottom it says Montreal. The value of this coin is 1 sou, and a sou is the same as a halfpenny. This is called the bouquet sou, and the bouquet has to do with the flowers that are on this side. As we look around the edge here, it says Boss Canada, and then agriculture and commerce, so it does not have the words in French. But in this bouquet of flowers, it mixes the flower that is associated with Canada, that would be the maple leaf, with the flowers that were associated with the 4 countries of the United Kingdom. So you have a shamrock, thistle, rose, and oak that are all bundled together in this specific bouquet of flowers. So you have all of those flowers on here. These were made, this doesn't have a date on it, but it was made around 1838. The Krause catalog is going to call this token number 5 because it doesn't go into a lot of details. There are a lot of varieties on here. So the authoritative guide on this would be the Canadian Colonial Tokens, and that's the name of the book. They would call this LC24A. LC stands for Lower Canada, and it's 24A. This coin was made by the Belleville Mint in New Jersey, so oftentimes they call it the Belleville or Bouquet Sou. And this specific variety, the easiest thing to tell about it is These are cherry stems on this side, and if you count the number of leaves, there are going to be 16 on here. Most varieties of this coin have 18, and some have 20 leaves, but 16 is what gives it away. If you had better details on here, you'd also be able to count 7 shamrocks back on this side. According to their catalog, this coin in very good condition is worth $5. Our next Canadian bank token is going to be from Upper Canada. Sadly, this coin's a little bit more well-worn, but you can see the words Upper Canada on the bottom here. So this would be pretty much everything north of Montreal that was controlled by the British at the time. At the top it says halfpenny token around the top. And if you can see it, most of this coin features a boat in the middle. This is, the name of this boat is a sloop. So this is called the sloop token. The bottom we have a date of 1820, and at the top we have the words commercial change. We have 2 shovels above an anvil on here. There are some different varieties of this coin having to do with the size of the handles, or whether or not it is a coin alignment or a metal alignment. This one is the coin alignment because you flip it over and it's upside down. And also where the edge of the sail here is pointing, but it's too well worn that I couldn't narrow that down. There are some really rare brass versions of this, but the Canadian Colonial Tokens catalog calls this UC9, Upper Canada 9. So one fun note about this one is the date of 1820. So I was saying earlier that with the Lower Canada tokens, that originally private companies were issuing their own coins, and the French government wanted to put a stop to that by authorizing banks to be able to issue tokens. In Upper Canada, there was a law passed through all of Canada saying you could not do that starting 1825. So after 1825, there was a company or a bank that manufactured these and put a date that was older than 1825 on here. They called it 1820 so they could more or less pretend to be compliant with the law. So they were playing fast and loose there in Upper Canada, but it was more allowed in Upper Canada than it was in Lower Canada. They were stricter about it in Lower Canada. So these were made after the law was passed, but no one really cared as much in Upper Canada. One last thing I'll point out is this coin does have some reading on it that it's pretty well worn, but you can still sort of see it on there. So I think that makes for a fun story. Now we're going to move to Britain. I figured that I had this coin, but I like the details on it that it's, I usually find these so well worn and slick that I thought this one was in better shape. But as it turns out, I didn't have this coin at all. So this is a 1 penny dated 1831 there at the bottom. It does have a hole in it, but I like the condition. I was willing to buy it as an upgrade, and it turns out it is new to my collection. But the king before Queen Victoria was William IV, so in Latin he is written as Guilhelmus, I guess. So King William IV ruled from 1830 to 1837. So this, there were not coins of him made in 1830, so 1831 are the earliest coins of his. We flip it over on this side, and this is a little bit larger in size than the way the penny looked in the 1900s. But one detail that they did not have back then were the flowers here at the bottom of the coin. And we were just talking about these flowers, where there are 4 different flowers that represent the United Kingdom. So we're back to the shamrock, the thistle, and the rose. So I was surprised to learn this coin was a little bit rarer than I thought it would be. There were fewer than 1 million of these produced. There was a mintage of 806,000 of these. So the catalog's going to say that in good condition, this coin books for $7. I don't know if I actually believe that or not, but I thought that to be a surprise. Now, there is a variety on this one coin, and I think this one's too well worn to see it, but the engraver's initials of WW would be found on some versions of this coin along the edge of the neck. So the little slope there that makes the edge of the portrait is where you could find the initials WW, and that is a rare variety, but this coin's too well worn that you can't really see it. Catalog number in this one is KM707. So our last of these 5 for $10 old copper coins. This one's has some of the better details on it, but it's also, as you can see, it's really banged up, so I don't know what happened to it. But we have Pius IX, Pontius Maximus. So it's the Pope, so you're going to think this is going to be in your catalog under Vatican City, but at this time, the area was known as the Papal States. So you would find this in under Italy in your 1800s catalog. So we've got a date of 1867 at the bottom, and anno, or year, 21. So the 21st year of Pius IX as Pope was 1867. The value on this coin is 1 soldo. But at the bottom, it also says 5 cent, which is an abbreviation for 5 centesimi. And so these coins in the 1860s under Pius IX were the first coins that the Papal States, or the Vatican, used, which was a decimal system. And so I guess the soldo is a holdover from their old system, and the 5 centesimi, you would have 100 centesimi to a lira, so you'd have 20 of these soldos, making 1 lira. At the top it says State Pontificio, so that's Papal States, an R for Rome, mint mark on here. The catalog number of this one is KM 1372.2. There are a couple of varieties based on the size of the head. That was only in 1866, but also this is the small date variety. And I was surprised there were more of these than there were of that last British penny. There were 6.5 million of these made. The next 3 carded coins that I'm going to show you are the only purchases that I made from a dealer that I've seen a lot over the years, but they're starting to retire and they don't carry as much inventory. But it's interesting to see what they have written on some of their old flips. This one is going to be from British Honduras. That is not the country of Honduras. We know that today as Belize. It's dated 1919, and it is given a grade of almost good, so it is really slick. On here, this side is almost looks cleaned and slick on it. But it is a 5 cents coin. It is not written on here, but it's catalog KM16. And I like how they had a price of $3.50, and that was marked down to $2, which was marked down to $1, which is what I paid for it. But we've got George V on here, still referencing how he is the Emperor of India. And what makes this coin rare is there were only 20,000 of these produced, so there were not a lot of coins from British Honduras or Belize made at this time. So in your catalog, it's going to say a coin in fine condition books for $8. So for a circulating coin, it's hard to have fewer than 20,000 of some of them made. So really rare. Glad to pick it up. Then for this next one, it goes back to the day where people would actually run stickers through a typewriter which could be added to the flip. So I do find that interesting. However, they got it wrong. This is not Sweden. This is Denmark. So some of these Scandinavian countries are hard to tell apart, but at least we can figure out what is what today. So it is a tin ore from 1915, and it is 40% silver. We zoom in on it, and it has a Christian X monogram, has a date of 1915 right here. It has Mint Master initials of VBP and then a heart for the Denmark Mint Mark. Over here we have initials of GJ. And the catalog number on this one is KM 818.1. And the varieties here, the different versions, would be the different Mint Master initials, which appear in this coin. We flip this one over, and it has tin ore, and that is a design that I'll find on this era from, you'll see them on the 1, the 2, and the 5, which are not made out of silver. The silver weight on here is 0.0186. So that's, today that's going to be about 60 cents worth of silver. But this is relatively a key date for this series. So again, it's interesting to see the markdown. So we've got where people will say if it was almost uncirculated, it would be worth 10. Extra fine would be worth 5. But some other day they said extra fine was $7.50, but they marked it down to $2. So I guess you could kind of call this a key date. It was the least produced. There were 915,000 of these made, where there were about 2 million of the other years. So it's kind of a key date, but the catalog is going to say this is worth $9. So I'm definitely happy with this one. For our next silver coin, we've got one from New Zealand, featuring George V, so an early New Zealand coin. It'll go ahead and show us on this side where they wrote this one has 0.0455 ounces of silver. That gets us to about $1.50 worth of melt value of silver on here, but I did pay $4 for it. This one is 1934. Catalog number in this one is KM number 2, since it was one of the earliest coins from New Zealand when they were controlled by the British. There were 3.6 million of these made at very fine. The catalog says this book's for $7. The kind of bird on here is called a huia bird, which went extinct probably 10 to 20 years after this coin, before this coin was made. So honoring a bird that was then extinct. All right, moving on to the next dealer. We have another 4 coins here, which appear in flips. Now this dealer tends to have higher end things only, and this comes out of a box that is labeled all crowns at 50% off. And so some of the prices that are written on here are, sometimes I think they're a little bit hard to justify, but maybe the book disagrees with that. But I did find a small number of coins that I liked from this dealer. And so these 4 coins are going to add up to $33. At least that's what's written on the flip, but at least I got it everything here for under $20. We're going to start with this coin from Argentina. In 2010, they were celebrating the 200th anniversary of the May Revolution, the bicentennial of the May Revolution from 1810. In this series, it's a series of 5 coins showing off scenic sites in Argentina. So you'll only find these made in 2010, so they are hard to come by. The series had 5 bimetallic coins, but there were also all silver coins of them that were made as well. So a total of 10 coins, and so each scene was duplicated in a silver version. So this specific coin honors memorializes the glacier called Perito Moreno. And so this is one of those things where if you had asked me yesterday if there were any glaciers in South America, I would have said no. But as it turns out, this I looked up the coordinates of this glacier, and it's as far away from the equator as Upper Canada, like we were talking about earlier in this video. So there are glaciers in Argentina, and I didn't know that, so I learned something today. Now, the price on here is $4. Numista seems to think that's overpriced a little bit. They say it's $1.20. But I was glad to pay $2 for it. I learn something every day too. This next coin is from Bolivia, and this has the design of the coins, the way they looked in 1939. This is the 50 centavos coin. A lot of their coins in 1939 had a look like this, but the 50 was the biggest coin, so I think it makes it look extra pretty. This coin features a caduceus. That is the name of the staff with wings with two snakes going around it. That is something that you typically see with healthcare logos. But a couple of countries have used the caduceus on their coins as well. It does have some olive branches at the bottom. We flip this one over, and a lot of coins from Bolivia have this look. So we've got an oval in the middle, we've got the sun in the background, we've got a tall mountain, we've got a smaller hill that has a church on it, and then in the foreground we have a palm tree on the right, a bundle of wheat in the middle, and a llama on the left. And then below that we have 9 stars, which represent the 5 geographic regions of Bolivia. This one is catalog KM 182, and so this dealer gave it a grade of choice, brilliant uncirculated, or MS65, and if that is indeed true, the Kraus catalog does say that book's for $7, although I don't think I would have wanted to pay $7 for this, but I'm glad I didn't. I paid half of that, so happy for that one. This next coin is probably the one I should not have purchased, but at least not for half of $10. But it comes from British North Borneo, has a date here of 1895 on the flip, but this coin was not made in 1895, but it was made in 1885, so at least with a high-def camera we can come in and see it. This is one of those coins that looks better on the screen than it does when I'm holding it in my hand, so I'm actually glad to actually see the details on it right here. But this coin features the coat of arms of British North Borneo, which features 2 Borneo soldiers around a shield in the middle. This is made at the Heaton Mint. There is going to be an H mint mark about right here. I guess I see it. They're really tiny. As we flip this one over, it says 1 cent in the middle and has a script for that in kind of around it. British North Borneo written around the top. But then something else interesting that it adds is the Jawi language right here, and that essentially translates to keep it. One thing I'll add, I just noticed that it's British North Borneo Company. Catalog number on this one is not written down, but there are 1 million of these, so it's sort of a key date. But I don't know that it would have been worth the $10 for this bronze coin. Our last coin from this dealer is going to come from Cyprus. This one is a 500 mils. And at the time, mil, if you think of cent, that means 100th, whereas a mil means 1,000th. So it took 1,000 mils to make 1 Cyprus pound. So this is a half of a pound. Not in weight, but that was the currency value. We have a person here holding up a basket of fruit. There were 80,000 of these minted in 1970. It was a circulating commemorative coin, but only 80,000 of them made. It was the first 500 mils that was ever produced, so I don't know how many people actually ever circulated them. We come to this side. It has the name Cyprus written in multiple languages. We have it in Cyrillic, but Cyprus or Kybris. This was an FAO coin. The FAO was the United Nations program to encourage people to produce more food, and it was the 25th anniversary of the FAO program because it has the dates of 1945 to 1970 on it. The design on the back here features what's called a double cornucopia. So it kind of looks like one, but if you look closely here, there is kind of a groove down here that we have a cornucopia in the front and an identical cornucopia in the back, and it has some food sticking out of it with grapes hanging over the edge. This is a copper nickel coin, but there is also a silver version that was made of this. But if you like coins that represent older coins, this design is based on an ancient coin that was used in Egypt during the reign of Pharaoh Ptolemy II. This one's going to be catalog KM43, and the catalog does say that in MS63 condition, it does book for $12. This next coin is from one of my favorite dealers. His name is Bob. I see him at every single show I go to, and sometimes he just doesn't have anything new. But I picked up a coin that I had from a place in my catalog that I did not have anything represented. This is a coin from, let me go ahead and take it out of the slip. So right away you can tell this has a design similar to Mexico. It's got the cap in the middle with rays behind it. But this comes from a time of the Mexican Revolution of 1910 to 1917. During this time, individual states in Mexico would oftentimes produce their own coins, but then you'd have two sides of it, where you'd have the side of the existing government-produced coins, and then the people who were fighting against them also produce their same coins in the same region. And so this comes from the state of Chihuahua. Chihuahua is a state in Mexico that does border the United States. And so I was happy to buy this coin because I did not have a single coin out of the Mexican Revolution pages in my catalog, and now this one is my first. We'll flip this one over, and it's got a design sort of similar to what you would see from Mexican coins at the time. You have the large number 5 in front of a large cent symbol on it. I also noticed there is a die crack on this coin, which was very common for the coins of this era. They didn't have the time to go in and remove the die cracks, and so they just let them go quite a bit. The date on this one is 1914. And if you look around the edge here, it is labeled Ejército Constitucionalista. And that translates to the Constitutional Army. So if you've ever heard the name Pancho Villa, he first came to fame as he was leading the Mexican government army in the state of Chihuahua. So he was the government side. The opponents to them were the Constitutional Army, who were following Venustiano Carranza. And so this was the coins that were for essentially the resistance here. There are some different variations of this coin. One of them is the little symbol. I don't know what you'd call that. Almost looks like decorative scissors. There are two of them on here. There's another version that has rosettes. There's another version of this coin where it is made out of copper, or actually brass, because this one's made out of copper. And according to legend, the copper that was in this coin was confiscated from captured telephone wires, where they would melt them down and then turn them into coins. So I think that bit of history adds a little bit to it. This one is the coins, the Mexican Revolution coins in the catalog still keep the same sequential KM number, And so, as the other coins from Mexico, so it's going to be catalog KM613. The catalog says extra fine is $10, and I paid $15, and I felt like that was probably worth it. Numista says it is worth more. Numista says that if you find it very fine, it would be worth $14, and I think that's legit, because they are really hard to come by. No idea, no one was keeping mintage total records on these. That takes us to the last coin and most expensive coin that I purchased at the entire show. But before I talk about the coin, I want to talk about the flip. Unfortunately, this dealer uses the flips that you should not use. And so we're going to look at the coin next. But this is the flimsy PVC coin that if I had left this silver coin in this flimsy flip for a while, it would probably turn green. Actually, I'm pretty sure it would turn green. I was actually starting to see slight traces of it on here, but this is a good flip that is PVC free, but this one is not. So I am throwing away the flip after I show you that this coin here is going to be a silver coin. It had a melt dot value of $31 on the day that I purchased it, and their bin said everything was half the price that was marked. So half of that is $32.50. They rounded down to $32. So I bought this for $1 over melt value on the day that I got it. But it's also 35 grams of sterling 925 silver. This is over an ounce of silver. So just in the couple of months since I purchased this, the value of silver has gone up. And today this is worth $34 of silver. Now, the price is going to fluctuate, but I'm glad to say that I was able to get it for a good price. So this is a commemorative coin, probably non-circulating, from Costa Rica. This is a 100 colones coin from Costa Rica. There were 14,500 of these made if you include the proof and the non-proof version. So this is the rarest coin of the video, with only 14,500. Catalog number is KM206 from 1979. And it features 3 baby birds in the nest, waiting for their mom to come home and feed them, I guess. But 1979 was Año, or year, International Niño is children, so it's the International Year of the Child in 1979. That was another United Nations designation. So certainly not a coin that I'd seen before. Now, I guess it's in a condition where you really can't expect to pay more than the silver value on it. Although, I mean, it does have nice condition, but the flat surfaces might have some milk spots on it, so I don't mind handling it. But I did think this was neat, especially to get it right at spot price. For the fun of it, 100 colones is still a valid currency, so this has a foreign exchange value of 20 cents in American money. And so I thought I would point that out, because it's not worth the foreign exchange value, it's worth the silver content. Thank you for sticking with me for such a long video. I just had so much to say about the 18 coins that were in this video. But I do want to show off one bonus coin here at the end, and I like to show off the coins that I find in pocket changes, especially for all of my international viewers. This is the way that a United States quarter looks today. So they've redesigned the Washington portrait. And then since 2021, there's been a series called the American Women Quarters. And so a lot of the women that are featured on these quarters are people that I am not familiar with. And so it's kind of interesting to learn about some people that I did not know about. So this one features Zitkala Ša. She is looks like a Native American, and behind her is a sunset with a bird flying by. She's listed as an author, an activist, and a composer. And so I doubt there is a catalog number on that, but this is a coin made last year, and I had not seen it before. So we're going to end with this video, but end the video with this coin, but thank you for watching. I have some other coin videos that I have made from this show, as well as I've been to a couple of shows since then, so more videos are going to keep coming out. And I thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Until then, bye.